Recently, I was watching a DVD of one of my favorite TV shows. A lot of folks' favorite TV show, 24. Sorry that it's canceled, but safety check. But, I wondered to myself often, how did it come to pass that the people in this country would allow things to go over? Why do so many people are allowing things like the Patriot Act to be renewed? And so, look at various parts of pop culture. You'll start to see the answers to those questions. The TV show 24. Of course, it's kind of hard to watch that show and not cheer Jack Bauer on. Each episode is 42 or 44 minutes of adrenaline rush. And you can't help but to cheer for the hero. Because what his end goal is to save thousands of lives. But throughout the 8 or 9 seasons that the show lasted, multiple times, I wouldn't even begin to guess how many times it came to pass that someone on the show, often it was a CTU agent, often somebody in their one of their data analysts or something, frequently gets mistakenly suspected of being involved with the terrorists. And usually someone from CTU, usually Jack Bauer, our hero, tortures that person who is innocent. And this recently tortured person who was innocent eventually gets their name cleared. Hops number 9, for those who are wondering. Gets their name cleared. They realize that it was all a mistake. Oh goodness, we tortured the wrong person. And then afterwards, invariably, they will go to this person they just tortured, and they will say, "We're sorry for what happened to you, and we don't blame you for being upset about it. But we really need you to go back to work. We need you to help us get our way through this crisis." And this person who has been wrongfully tortured, who has had their constitutional rights trampled upon, invariably will say, "Okay, I understand, I'll go back to work." And of course, meanwhile, the viewer, myself included, because you're so wrapped up in the show, what's happening, you're cheering, "Oh, thank goodness they're going back to work. Thank goodness they understand. They understand that mistakes happen, and sometimes it's," myself, I don't think this part, but sometimes it's necessary to forget the rights of the few for the welfare of the many. There was one instance, I don't remember the lady's name, the actress or the character, but there was one instance in particular that the lady says, "Okay, I'll go back to work, but I want a raise and a promotion." And she was portrayed in a way that because she wanted some sort of compensation, she was spiteful person. So as a society, and watching this show, we're being told that it's okay if your constitutional rights are trampled upon. It's okay if the agents get the wrong person. How many times did that happen throughout the show? They got the wrong person. Sometimes they killed the wrong person. Somebody died, and they weren't even guilty of being a terrorist. But that's okay, because the end justified the means. Silver bullet gun oil, the best on the planet. One shot, one soul. This stuff is 13% USDA pork fat. They say it's a great gun oil. It's kind of a novelty thing, of course, but I'm going to try it out here and we'll see how it works out. We're told, we're conditioned to believe that all these things are okay. We're cheering for Jack Bauer while he tortures people. I kind of subscribe to the way of thinking that if someone is indeed a terrorist, and you are 100% sure without the shadow of a doubt, then torture away. But you know, the only way you can be sure is if you actually caught them in the act. Anything less, you're not sure beyond the shadow of a doubt. And it looked like they might be a terrorist isn't good enough. But we have due process for a reason. But we've been conditioned through TV, whether it be with the TV show The Unit, for those of you who have seen it, or 24, or a host of others, that it's okay for someone's constitutional rights to be ignored as long as the end result is noble. Now, I'm not trying to imply that this is a conspiracy of some sort. No, I don't think it's anything of that nature. I think it's a case where the TV writers seize the controversial subject of the day and write their story based upon it for obvious reasons. Because whatever is fresh in your mind as the subject of the day is of course going to have a better chance of seizing your attention. So this isn't some kind of a conspiracy theory, but instead it's a video to kind of relate an epiphany that I've had recently. I think it's an epiphany anyway, and kind of pass it along, the related thoughts. The sheeple, so to speak, are a product of their environment. A lot of viewers are going to say, well, you know, I would never buy into that. I watched those TV shows. They didn't alter my way of thinking. I believe you if you say that. But I also say, if you say that you can be proud that you're a deeper thinker than most. Most people don't think that deeply while they're watching TV. It's kind of an escape, you know. TV is, we kind of go off into this other world. We kind of immerse ourselves into the world that, well, the world of the TV show, and we kind of forget our troubles, you know. You let some steam off, you forget about the bad day at work, you forget about the tumbling stock market. But myself and many of you, I'm sure, still put thought into those things, and while we still get wrapped up in that TV show, we don't buy into the altered way of thinking that many do. This is gun grease. Actually, this is Lucas Red and Tacky #2. But it works very well for gun grease, and it's much less expensive. They begin to think in those terms, subconsciously think it. They subconsciously are buying into that thought process. So they're already acclimated to that thought through watching TV. They've already been through the initial reaction of surprise, I guess, for lack of a better word, that would come to us when we hear of someone's constitutional rights being disregarded. Now, why am I telling you this if I don't believe that you're one of those people that think that way? And if I don't think there's a conspiracy going on? There may be a conspiracy in the way that maybe our politicians are watching those things and they're realizing that we are already somewhat adjusted to that thought process. But still, it's not a conspiracy. They're just kind of taking advantage of the situation if they're involved with it at all. The whole idea here is that we're somewhat already used to it, so it's not so surprising. We've already adopted, or they have already adopted, the thought process that the end justifies the means, that kind of thing. The big thing I hear a lot from people who are awake, so to speak, is how do I wake up my friends and neighbors? And I've always been a firm believer that whatever your obstacle or problem is, whether we're talking about an enemy, a person who's thinking we need to change, or whatever, anything that is opposed to us or our school of thought, in order to deal with it, you need to fully understand it. And that, my friends, is why I'm bothering to mention that. In order for you to use that, just last night, another of my favorite TV shows, The Glades. I don't even remember what channel it's on, but it's on one of the cable stations. The new episode of The Glades, they were dealing with these people that this episode was dealing around this illegally sold or illegally purchased gun, and this beloved school teacher was accidentally killed with this illegally purchased gun. And I almost stopped watching it because my first impulse was they were demonizing this fella who was selling guns at a flea market. Oh, this evil man, because he is selling guns at a flea market and he's got going through the background check, the instant check. Then he's just this terrible man, and he's responsible for the death of this school teacher. And yeah, I understand all that, but at the same time, even the instant check is a violation of our Second Amendment rights. And I thought, oh boy, these guys are just playing into the ATF thing. They're helping the ATF spread their agenda about the gun shows. They want to end the gun shows. But then I realized that no, that's not the case. It's a case, what the case is the writers of this show have been watching the news. They're keeping up with current events, and they're trying to make their show realistic. And in making their show realistic, they're just wrapping the storyline around those current events. I realized that what's happened with that show, even though there were no dishonorable intentions, the writers probably, I can't speak for them, good or bad, but I'm speculating here that they probably did not have any ill intentions. They didn't believe anything other than what they were told. They believed what they were told, And then they took that and made a story out of it. And since they only listened to one side of the story, or they only drew from that one side of the story in the writing of their story, then they actually furthered the agenda of the ATF or BATF or BATFE or whatever they want to call themselves this week. They're always adding another letter. They actually furthered that agenda with that episode, because most people don't listen with a full an open mind. Instead, they are getting played out before them a way that, yes, it could be that someone selling at a gun show could be evil and could cause terrible things to happen. Now, basically what was going on was two fellows had a little deal going. One was going in making straw purchases. He was filing off the serial numbers, and then he was passing them along to the guy at the flea market. They were being pretty shady with what they were doing. For those, I don't know if I told you this already, those of you wondering, this is a Ruger P95. And I cleaned the gun in the video because I thought it would be better to look at than my ugly mug. But anyway, I guess I pretty well communicated what I wanted to say, just in time for the finishing of the gun cleaning. As always, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.